Make some noise for Sally Young and Deano Assunto.
Hey, how y'all doing? So first of all, Deano, do you want to give us an introduction to just who are the Assunto Dukes of
Yeah,
Dixieland?
my father was Frank Assunto, and his brother was Freddie Assunto, and you can see him in this picture here. And then in the middle there is their father, Papa Jack Assunto. This photo is from 1955. Obviously, it's from up in Chicago, and obviously you can see that that's Louis Armstrong to the right in the center. And by the way, that person on the far right at the bottom, in case you don't know it for sure, because he has hair, that is Pete Fountain. Pete Fountain got his start with the Assunto brothers in the late 40s when they were still in high school. It's from 1959, I think. I think it's January 7th, 1959, if I'm not mistaken.
Ladies and gentlemen, a good evening to you. This is John Cameron Swayze for Timex Watches, speaking to you live, I'm glad to report, from Broadway, the fabulous Great White Way.
Good evening, and welcome to the golden age of jazz.
Yeah, we love the way they use stencil letters on television.
To be here on the Timex All-Star Jazz Show, surrounded by the greatest bunch of jazz musicians ever assembled on one television program. These are the giants of jazz. There's Louis Armstrong, Duke Ellington and his full band, Dizzy Gillespie, George Shearing, the Dukes of Dixieland.
These pictures that are coming out, I would say almost nobody's seen them. This is the first time they're publicly being shown. Here you see to the far left is Freddie, obviously Frank, and then Louis. And then the far right here, I'm going to bring Jerry Fuller up. That's his name. Jerry Fuller was probably the last living original Dukes of Dixieland member. He just died this past June 24th. And I remember him as a child, and he was just the most pleasant man in the world. Now, I don't know what Louis is saying, but it's got to be good. Okay, it looks like on the tuba back there, it looks like Rich Matheson. And on the drums to the left, you can barely see his face, that would be Mo Mahoney. And then here they are again. Obviously, Frank is looking at his idol. Now,
Wow.
This is one of my all-time favorites. I mean, I don't know how much larger Louis's mouth can get. And I don't know why he's getting pinched, but it's probably that's Sid Fry to the right, pinched him, by the way. He's probably wanting a receipt for the check for the 40 grand he gave him. And the man with his hand to his face, cut off halfway, that's Stanley Mendelsohn. He was a keyboard player with the Dukes. They called him Stanley Happy Mendelsohn. He was a great ragtime piano player. And then the person standing dead center with a nice outfit is Gene Krupa. And that would be Dizzy Gillespie, and then obviously again Gene Krupa. Louis must have really loved to tell jokes or something, because I think my dad's dentures were about to fall out of his head. Okay, well, that's Joe Delaney on the far left with the beard, then the dark, I guess, sweater with the light-colored pants on. This is the only photo I actually have of my grandfather, Papa Jack, with Louis Armstrong, and it's obviously a posed photo. It was never used for a promotional thing. I think it was just a family type of photo that they took. So Louis, at the end of the meal, they all getting ready to go back to their own little rooms or whatever, and Louis reaches in his pocket and he hands Betty and Joan, my mom, 2 little packets. And he said, "Look, girls, take these things. It'll make you feel better in the morning. You'll sleep well, you'll settle your stomach down." Well, all I can say is that Betty said, "Deano," I said, "Well, I'll tell you exactly what she said." I said, "Aunt Betty, what happened?" She said, "Well, the next morning, your mom and I were fighting over that Bacauza." Now,
Good old Swiss Chris.
but look at the look that Louis has as he's looking at little Carrie. I mean, and she must be making a funny face at him, okay? Okay. Well, now the girls are having fun with Louis. I'm sitting there in a goofy outfit with poodles on my suspenders. I've never gotten over it. And this is at our home in Las Vegas. And Louis came quite a few times to our home. And I remember Betty told me, I said, "Well, how was it?" And she said, "Well, we had a lot of famous people come to the house. And Louis was obviously one of the major ones. And like Liberace used to come over and things like that back in the 50s. But she said, no, when Louis came, we had to have a pot of red beans on the stove. I said, you cooked the pot? She goes, there was no way he was going to walk in that house. Even if he didn't want to eat it, he just wanted to smell them.
Let's fly down or drive down to New Orleans. That city, oh, it's pretty. Historic scenes. I'll take you, parade you down Bourbon Street. There are lots of hot spots. You'll see all the big shots down on Bourbon Street, yes.
Let's fly down or drive down to New Orleans.
Sing it,
That city, it sure is pretty. Historic scene. I'm gonna take you, I'll even parade you down Bourbon Street. Well, there are a lot of hot spots. You're gonna see some big shots down on Bourbon Street.
yeah, one more game, one more game.
Let's fly down
Yes,
or drive
I did
down
not see that.
to New Orleans. That city,
Yes, that
it
city.
sure is pretty.
You telling me?
Historic scene. I'm gonna take you.
You gonna take me?
Pops, I'll even
Well,
parade
thanks,
you
Kate.
down on Bourbon Street.
Papa do not see this.
Yes, there are a lot of hot spots.
Yeah.
We're gonna meet all those big shots down
Down
on